So did you read Fourth Wing? Yeah, I did. No, you didn't. I did. Oh yeah? Then what'd you think of the parapet scene? Oh yeah, I kind of thought it was weird that she got to have two pets, if that's what you want to call them. Not pair of pets, parapet. Oh yeah, she was just, parapetting around everywhere. Hi, my name's Bee and welcome to my channel. You didn't read it. Mama needs to read romance. Don't try to get out of this conversation by introducing your channel and tell you about my top 10 books this fall. Well, here we are. It's time for me to gush about my favorite books for the fall. Before I do, I just want to say I've gotten so many compliments on my new bedspread. I love this so much. I got it on Amazon, and I'm going to link it in my description box in case you're interested. They have a lot of great designs, but this one's my favorite. I'm actually a little sad that it's almost Christmas time because I have a great Christmassy one, but I don't know that I'm gonna love it as much as I love this one. Stay tuned to see. So let's talk about my top 10 books that I read in fall. I'm going to start with one I haven't mentioned on my channel at all yet. I saw this cover on Instagram. I had to read it. I don't have time to read this. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I've been sneaking away every time I can to read a little bit more. I'm only at 65% right now, and I know that maybe I should wait until I finish it before I add it to my favorite books of fall. But this book would have to make a major misstep not to get 5 or 6 stars from me. I am so in love. It's Halfling by S.E. Wendell. We have a man who's half orc, half human. He has a little bit of a sad backstory, and a woman who he is rescuing from a fate worse than death in his orc clan. They go on a road trip together. I love a good road trip romance. And sparks start to fly. Oh my gosh, the slow burn is insane. At one point, I just wanted to rappel into the book with a bullhorn and say, "You like her and you like him. All right, figure this out." But the tension is so good. I would call this cozy fantasy, and it is, but sometimes I'm gonna be honest, I feel like cozy is sort of a euphemism for boring. I hope that doesn't offend anyone, but I do kind of feel that way sometimes. This cozy, though, is so different. The author really gives her characters room to breathe, if that makes sense. Like that, it's slow, but it's beautiful. The characters are so richly developed. The thoughts in their minds, like you just feel like you're there with them going through the woods in the fall. There is a lot of spice in this book, but for me, it's not too much. I know I say that a lot, but in this case, it's so frequently imbued with the most gorgeous emotion. I found myself tearing up because we have a man who didn't think that he was deserving of love, and now he's finally feeling affection from someone, and I'm trying not to tear up now, and it's really hard, but oh, it's so good. It's so good. I can't wait to finish this. It's book 1 of a new series, and I am already here for it. The art, by the way, is the other thing that sold this for me. On S.E. Wendell's Instagram page and her website, you can see some of the most gorgeous art of people who have been inspired by this book. Some of it's not safe for work, but it's all gorgeous. So anyway, I'm loving this book so much. Stay tuned for my November wrap up to find out what this wound up being for me. I can't wait. Except then it's over. So I have mixed feelings. You know, it's a good book when you want to find out what happens, but you don't want it to end, right? Life is Better with You. I got the arc when I fell in love with the cover again. So many of these books start with me loving a cover. And I will admit, I don't always end up loving the books I love the cover for. I've got this example and also this one. So you never know, but in this case, I really did fall in love. All the tropes that are just so good. We've got secret pining, 4 years. He falls first, years ahead of her. She feels like she's just not good enough. She's been with tough guys, has never been with a cinnamon roll hero. But when he needs her to fake date him to go to his sister's wedding over Christmas, he just gets the opportunity to show her how good it could be, and it is so yummy. It's so yummy. I loved it so much. This is a brand new author. I am all in on this author. If you go to her website, which I will link in my description box, you can get the prequel novella about how the two of them met. Also, but until December 1st, she's giving out the first 2 chapters of the next book in this series, which is right here. It's coming out in 2024. I can't wait. It's just so good. I binged this over a weekend. He is so yummy. And it's deep too. He has a grandmother who just sols out this great wisdom. The ending just made me clap for joy. I loved it so much. Not to sound like a broken record, but I saw this cover on NetGalley. It was only 4 days before release when it was released on NetGalley. I got the audio. The narrator is gorgeous. Her voice is like melted butter. It's fantastic. I listened to this 19-hour audiobook in 4 days. Didn't regret it for one moment. We have The Great Gatsby meets Aatar, and I want to apologize to Lizelle of Lizelle Loves Books because I heard her in her video, she talks about not getting that reference, the Aatar reference, until the end of the book, like the last 20%. So I'm sorry if that was confusing, but it's high fantasy, it's fae. He is a bootlegger, he is the Prince of Prohibition, and we have a girl who's been very, very, very sheltered in the South until tragedy strikes and she moves up north to New York City in the roaring 20s. It was so much fun. I mean, we have these incredible, exciting 1920s New York City vibes, but then we add a whole new level with this high fantasy, fae type deal. We've got fated mates here, enemies to lovers. He's a bit of a bad boy, which I don't normally go for, but it really worked in this situation. There's a scene towards the last third when she finally gives in to him and they fulfill their fated mates prophecy, if you will, that is so gorgeously done. I need to see art of this on Instagram desperately. It just, every moment I turned on the audio, I just felt like I was transported to that world. Great writing. There's another book called The Veil of Violence, which is going to be published in February of 2024. You better believe I'm going to be reading that right away. I didn't know I was such a fantasy fan until I read this. Okay, so I've got one more story for you about a book I saw on NetGalley, fell in love, and now I have the physical copy. It's Ali Hazelwood. So, you know, it had nothing to do with the cover. It was Ali Hazelwood, and I was so excited to get this arc. And I didn't buy this. Amina, one of my fabulous online friends, got me a gift card. So thank you again, Amina, for buying this for me, basically. I'm so excited. This is a YA romance. I gave it 6 stars because even though I am not the target audience necessarily for a YA, because I'm not Y anymore. Also, I've never played chess a day in my life, but I tell you what, those chess tournaments had me biting my nails. The tension was there not only for the chess, but for the relationship between these two. We've got enemies to lovers again. She is desperately trying not to get herself into the chess world after some trauma that she's experienced. It makes her very uncomfortable about embracing chess again. And then we have the guy who is like the chess champion of the world. She winds up playing him in a tournament just randomly and beats him when no one else can. So of course he's totally taken with her. And just watching the two of them sparring both on the chessboard and off was so much fun. This is more sweet than spicy, but I still say Ali Hazelwood can always bring that spice. I enjoyed this immensely. I hope she does more books like this because it was perfection. It just occurred to me that every book I've mentioned so far, it was actually published in the fall of 2024, so I feel very on the cusp of what's good right now. But I'm going to take you back in time now to, I want to say like 2012 or something, which is when Notorious Pleasures was published thereabouts. This is book 2 of the Maiden Lane series. Some of you remember me spinning my wheel in my TBR and picking Elizabeth Hoyt. So many of you mentioned her Maiden Lane series that I dove in. The first book I kind of thought was okay. This one is so good. We're going to look at the step back, by the way. You don't think that there's a step back until you open it and then you see a gorgeous, gorgeous step back. We have Griffin and Hero. Our heroine is Hero. How funny. But he's a bad boy and normally that does not work for me. Also, this was insanely spicy. I want to say like Elizabeth Hoyt is the Kristen Callahan of historical romance. If you don't know what I mean when I say that, you need to find out because I love the way she describes the men. I'm just gonna say it. Yes, very spicy. He's a bad boy. She is supposed to be marrying his brother, and the two of them cannot keep their hands off of each other. He's also kind of bad because he's a gin distiller, and he's really not supposed to because gin's like the worst thing that ever came to St. Giles. There are a lot of obstacles in their path, but somehow every time they get together, it never seems to matter. I was totally spellbound by him, just like she was. I don't know how Elizabeth Hoyt does it because he's kind of bad, but it works. It works. So I want to do a video soon of like my favorite rakes in historical romance because he's going to be in the top 10 for sure. In fact, I want to tell you something else. I am currently reading the 3rd book in the Maiden Lane series, Scandalous Desires, which is similar, but he's a pirate. Okay? It's so good. Again, stay tuned for my end of November wrap up because that one's going to be climbing the charts as well. I almost wanted to include it in my top 10, but I was like, let me not include a bunch of books I haven't finished in my top 10 books of fall. Let me show you the step back too. Okay, you ready? Oh my gosh, it's so good. Isn't this gorgeous? And I would not even have thought that this was a step back because it doesn't have the cutout side. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's get back to my top 10 books of fall. Okay, I feel badly now because now we're back to another book that I read the arc of when it was published this fall, and then I also bought it. What is with me? I've been buying way too many books. Whole price. I'm the queen of used books, although maybe I can't call myself that anymore. Anyway, The Christmas Wager. It's my favorite Christmas read of 2023, and I've read a lot, ladies and gentlemen, a lot. We've got enemies to lovers, if you couldn't tell. She is out to get his grandfather's Christmas shop. Save the Christmas shop in a small town. It sounds very formulaic. It kind of is. However, Holly Cassidy is a pen name for Hannah Mary McKinnon. You may recognize that name. She is a famous suspense writer, and that comes across in here. We have multiple events where there needs to be a daring rescue, which I was not expecting at all. This is closed door, but I still found it to be spicy. I did not know what was going to happen, and I couldn't wait to see. The ending left me in tears. It was so deep and so beautiful. There were plenty of fun Christmas feels without just feeling formulaic. They had some really good, inventive events that happened in the small town that she takes part in, like these Christmas games, and they didn't feel hokey or corny at all. It just felt like fun. It felt real. And I found myself falling in love with virtually everyone in the ensemble cast, except for like 2 people. But you'll see why if you read the book. You're not supposed to like everybody. Such a good Christmas romance. Okay, the next book is like a fantasy contemporary romance type deal. I can't tell you too much about it because you need to know as little as possible going in for it to be the roller coaster that it is intended to be. This is The Curse of Nona Mae Taylor by Jess K. Hardy. I believe this is her first book. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. By the way, this was an arc that was just published recently, and I didn't buy it. I didn't buy a physical copy. Are you proud? Anyway, we have Nona Mae. She is 83 years old. She lives with a bunch of animals. Although, wait, there's way more. Nona Mae is actually like 23. But this evil witch turned her into an old woman in the middle of nowhere. And all these animals that she lives with can talk because they're her family and manager that the witch turned into animals. The only way to break the curse is for Nona Mae to fall in love. They assume that this is going to be their lot for the rest of their lives because they're out in the middle of nowhere. But then one day, Charlie arrives. He's unconscious. They have to nurse him back to health in the cabin. And Nona Mae starts realizing, even though there's like 50 years between the two of them, he's giving her these looks. And her skin gets less wrinkly. And some of her gray hair starts turning brown again. What is going on? And I cannot say anymore. I will tell you that this book was near perfection for me. It got a little awkward in the middle. But otherwise, I thoroughly loved this so much, and I highly recommend it if you enjoy good twists and turns and love and fantasy. Oh man, it was really good. Another kind of contemporary romance that also has fantastical or magical elements in it that I loved was Ghosted by Sarah Reddy. This one, I would say, is like the Dead Romantics, except there's spice in it, and instead of small town, it's big city. However, this book goes a lot farther in terms of what it does with time and physics and science. I was so impressed by the places that they took this. There were twists, even in like the bonus second epilogue, that had me reeling and wanting to read the entire book over again. I can't tell you a whole lot again, other than to say this is about a woman of Indian heritage, so we get to learn a little bit about her Indian heritage, which was lovely. She is living in New York City on her own, she thinks, until she realizes that there is a ghost named Daniel living in the apartment with her. He doesn't really know why he's there, but he assumes it's to help her fall in love because she can't even really talk to guys. As you can imagine, over time, the two of them start to fall for each other. The love scenes were so beautiful. It made me want to cry. I just loved it so much. The reason that this book didn't get a full 5 stars for me, or even 6 stars, was because it was too long. And a lot of the scenes in her office, I think, are skimmable. I keep thinking about it still. So it was one of my very favorite reads of 2023, and it was published recently. Again, got the ARC. Almost all of these are ARCs, or advanced readers copies, by the way, if you don't know what that means. Another fantasy that everyone's been talking about, Fourth Wing. I didn't read this until this fall. When people were telling me that Iron Flame was about to come out, I had no idea. So I was excited to read this and then jump basically right into the next book in the series, which I'm currently reading right now. We'll see in my November wrap up how that wound up falling in my ranking. So we've got Fourth Wing here, and it's essentially a military academy that's set in a fantastical land, and the main characters do have some signets or like magical powers, but they also are dragon riders. There is a lot of bad blood between different groups within this military academy. Academy, however. And our heroine, Violet, not only does she have some differing physical needs, which I thought was really neat how they used adaptations to help her in school as a mom of kids with special needs. I love a good accommodation. And they did that for her, which I thought was so cool. Also, she's trying to find love. So there are places where this is super steamy, super spicy. I was here for it. There's sinister elements, and Violet is trying to determine who her friends are and who they aren't. The stakes are high, the fantasy's high, a little bit more in Iron Flame, which I've been reading and getting a little confused by and trying to keep track, but this was a little bit easier for me. I really, really enjoyed this. I never thought I would. I've talked to others of you online who said you didn't think this would be your cup of tea either, but you wound up liking it. So if you're one of those people that's on the fence, give this a whirl and see. You never know. Maybe Military Academy with Dragon Riders is going to be your thing too. I'm going to close with a historical romance novella by the great Kate Bateman. I just love her. And The Phantom of Drury Lane was just such a fun read. I really enjoyed this Phantom of the Opera retelling that was part of a series she did with other authors, but also she made it part of her Ruthless Rival series. I loved seeing another Montgomery find love and uncover the mystery of who actually the Phantom of Drury Lane is. That was a lot of fun. It was spicy. It was emotional. It was fun. And it was short. Some of my favorite things. Well, those were my top 10 of fall. What were some of your favorite books that you read this fall? Let's share them in the comments below. I know everybody would like to read them. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, regardless of what season it is. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.